Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sincere from the Standard 81 podcast, and I'm here with another Monday Memoirs. Before we get started, let's go ahead and take a 30-second break just to get our minds right, and I'll be back with you here in three, two, one. And we are back. What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a good day. Today is a special day. Today is MLK Day. Children are out of school, and some of the federal places are off work, and a few places are having parades and stuff like that in memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But since today is Monday Memoirs, I want to talk about uh, what Martin Luther King Jr. means for me specifically, and um, and his his memory will impact my life as a Christian moving forward. So today I was doing my devotional, and I know I shared with you in the last Monday Memoirs some of the books and stuff that I read, and this is one of them. Stand Strong, um, 360 Days of Devotional, and this particular one was called Ministry of Reconciliation. But the funny thing about it is God is so good. Uh, there's notes here about Dr. Martin Luther King, and I'm going to go ahead and read it uh, in light of today's holiday. It says, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached on a Sunday morning in 1957, he fought the temptation to retaliate against a society steeped in racism. How do we go about loving our enemies? He asked the Dexter Avenue Baptist congregation in Montgomery, Alabama. We begin with the opportunity that presents itself to defeat our enemies. We must not we must not uh, do that. We must take time to love them. And then he goes on to quote Jesus. King says, love your enemies, bless them who curse you, do good to those who hate you, pray for those who spitefully misuse you. Now that was a bit choppy, mind you, but as a Christian and as people all together, we got to realize that the enemy we're fighting is not people, it's the motive behind people. Because I personally don't hate anybody. I hate the things that people do. I hate some of the things people stand for. I hate some of the lifestyles that they live, but that's not for me to judge, and that's not for me to tell anybody what to do or what not to do. Uh, like I always say, in the end, we'll find out, right? But what I will say is this: if you have somebody that you dislike, or you have somebody that hates you, don't worry about that as much. Learn to look outside of what it is of who it is and what it is they're doing, and see what's inside, what it is that's hurting them. And that's, in my belief, is what Dr. King was looking at. He was looking at the fact that there was a generation that grew up that was taught this, and that was told that this is the right thing to do, and you should be doing this. And he's seen past that. He's seen past the skin colors and the barriers and stuff like that, and said, look, we're going to start judging people as people, not only for the, not because of the things that they do, but for the content of their character. And that's what you got to look at. You got to look at the character of a person. How does what they're saying match up with their lifestyle? And I'm not agreeing with a lot of the things that people want to coincide with what Dr. King has done. But nonetheless, that's what he told us to look at. And when I don't agree with something, I choose to look at the fact that maybe this is something they've been taught. Maybe this is something that they've gone through that they haven't quite fixed yet in their own personal lives. So it's harder for them. I'm trying not to judge things based upon surface, because the enemy that we have is not necessarily the enemy that we think we're confronting all the time. It's more so the enemy of our soul. You got to remember, the enemy of our soul wants us to be in conflict, wants us to rage against everything, wants us to not be at peace, wants us mentally unstable, wants us, and he will use anything and anybody to do it, including our own people. So, to those who are celebrating, both black, white, and especially my people, I'll say this: let's remember what he did. Let's remember what Dr. King did and what he stood for. Let's try to judge people based on the content of their character, not their skin color, and not the things that we prerequisites as good and evil. And for those of my Christian brothers and sisters out there, we need to do a better job at displaying the love of Christ. And I'm not talking about this love that says, I don't call you out on your sins. No, because Dr. King was not one of those people that didn't call the sin out. He's not one of those people that stood by and thought that what people were doing against other people was perfectly good. But he said there's a different way of dealing with this. Fighting fire with fire is not going to get us nowhere. Even the late great Malcolm X had to eventually come around to that point. Sometimes you do need to fight back, but oftentimes we don't know who we need to fight against, and we wind up fighting each other instead of fighting the real cause, the real enemy that we need to fight. So in my life, I try to look at things for what they are instead of what I perceive them to be, and let people show me who they are. Let people show me their character. Let people, because if you leave a person alone long enough in front of you, they're going to eventually show you who they are anyway. They're going to eventually show you what it is they stand for, who they stand for, and what they're all about anyways. So there's no sense in getting in an uproar about something that they're eventually going to show you. So I call to you and everybody else out there: is learn to live. Learn to live peacefully with people. Learn to live within your means. Learn to live judging people by what it is they do, not so much what it is they say. And if we do that, we'll be better. I'm not going to say much more than that, but I do want to leave you with something. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and play the Dr. King speech, the famous "I Have a Dream" speech, and I'll end it on that note. God bless you all.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
The March on Washington served as a massive push for economic and political justice for African Americans. Held during the year celebrating the 100th.
Why is everyone in the U.S. going